Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. My name is Lvly, and today we're having a look at Apple CarPlay on MBUX. Now, as this is a fairly big topic, what we're going to do is break this up into 3 separate videos. So this is part 1 of 3, where we're looking at connecting and using Apple CarPlay for the very first time. Now, if you're having a few problems with getting it going, you'll be wanting to check out part 2, which is my kind of troubleshooting guide and some steps you can take to hopefully get it going. Now, of course, it isn't compatible with all cars, but if you do check out that guide, that'll hopefully clear things up a bit. Part 3, however, is if you are a power user and you kind of know Apple CarPlay and what it can do, but you want the best experience possible. So that is my famous tips and tricks videos, but more specifically aimed at Apple CarPlay. So this is part 1, connecting and using Apple CarPlay. So then guys, just before we jump into the video, only 11.5% of you who are watching this video right now are subscribed to my channel. So to make sure you don't miss out on any tutorials, reviews, tips and tricks videos that I do on Mercedes-Benz, do hit that subscribe button down below and hit that bell notification to be notified when I upload a new video. And I promise you, it's better than reading the manual. So then guys, what is Apple CarPlay and this wording called smartphone integration? So basically, in pretty much every Mercedes-Benz, there is an instrument cluster directly in front of you, which houses your speed and trip computers and that sort of thing. Then in the middle of the car, there is a thing called the multimedia system or infotainment system. Basically, what this allows you to use is your sat-nav, your radio, media playback, so maybe music off your phone, for example, and then adjust vehicle settings and of course take calls through telephone. Now, all of this is really good. So in Mercedes-Benz, they're formerly known as Audio 20, then you've got Command, and then there's MBUX as well. But what happens if you want a little more integration with your smartphone? This is where smartphone integration comes in, and also known as Apple CarPlay. And Apple CarPlay was introduced to the world by Apple in around about 2014 in one of their keynotes. And basically this signified to manufacturers this technology now exists and this is compatible with pretty much all iPhones. You can now install this into future cars on their next product life cycles. So this is exactly what Mercedes-Benz did, then installed this kind of into cars on their next life cycles after this announcement. So you can see in some models they'll be available directly after this, and then some models about a year or 2 or sometimes even 3 years after this announcement. Basically, Apple CarPlay is a replacement for the multimedia system found in the car, and you quite simply use it by plugging it in, and then it will let you use some kind of car-friendly apps which are on your phone, but it's kind of going up to the screen. So these can include things like Apple Music, Apple Maps, Google Maps, and then even things like Spotify, Amazon Music, and many more. So connecting Apple CarPlay up is really easy. You quite simply just plug it in, and it should pop up on the screen. But of course this does depend on the specifications, so if you are having issues, I thoroughly recommend check out part 2 of this video where we can run through some steps of why it may not be working. Now I know this car does have Apple CarPlay, and as it has MBUX, it features USB-C ports. So I don't actually own a USB-C to Lightning cable, so what I use is the original cable that came with the phone, so that's the white one used to charge, just like this. And then I've also got a dongle as well to convert it to USB-C. If you want this one specifically, they're about £6–7 on Amazon. I'll pop a link down below if you want to check that out. They come in a pack of 2 as well, which is quite handy, just in case a friend or family member wants to charge their phone at the same time. But we're going to use this for Apple CarPlay, so all you do is quite simply plug it in and get it connected up, and then plug it into the relevant USB-C port, and then connect the other end to your phone. Now, most importantly here, when you plug it in for the first time, you'll get a prompt pop up on your phone asking if Apple CarPlay can use your phone while it's locked. So, of course, if this is your car and this is your phone, always press allow because it just makes the process a little bit easier each time. And that's it. As you saw there, it literally just pops up on the screen just like that. And this is the Apple CarPlay home screen. Now basically you can swipe this left and right using the touchpad, or you can use it as an actual touchscreen just like MBUX. Now, one thing to note is if you press the home button on the top right, this will take you back to the MBUX screen. So if you want to get back to Apple CarPlay, just tap on Apple CarPlay on the top and it will load up just like this. So as this is the Apple CarPlay home screen, you'll notice there's a few icons that look familiar because basically this runs off of your phone. So tapping on phone, for example, you'll see all your relevant favorites there and any recent people you want to call, contacts, a keypad, and even your voicemail directly off your phone. Now, pressing the back button will go back. Then you can see things like Apple Music, Apple Maps, Messages, basically all these Apple apps which are now integrated into the car, hence the smartphone integration wording. So this isn't limited to just Apple apps. There are a few extra apps that I've downloaded as an example as well. So you can see there's quite a few here, ranging from, of course, your Apple default ones, but then Google Maps and Waze and Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon Music, even WhatsApp as well. There's quite a few to choose from. So any apps that are compatible that you download to your phone will automatically appear on here because, again, this is running off of your phone. So it's really, really clever how it all works. Now, just to show you, if I go on to Apple Maps, for example, this is a really, really good way of adding sat-nav to a car in case a car doesn't have sat-nav. Now, I know that I think virtually all models of Mercedes-Benz that have MBUX do have sat-nav anyway, but if you think about it, the live traffic on Apple Maps and the live traffic on Google Maps is free of charge, so that's an alternative. This whole thing is an alternative of using the Mercedes MBUX system, and it's just giving people a choice as to what system they might like to use. Now, as this is fully integrated with Apple, your calendar can also come up on here as well, and if you have the locations saved of where you're going to go, where your appointment is, it can actually recommend that and directly input that to the sat-nav, so it just makes that whole process a lot easier. Now, Apple CarPlay does have a neat trick up its sleeve as well. By swiping all the way to the left, it brings up a thing called the dashboard. Now, the dashboard was introduced, I think, about a couple of years ago, and basically it splits the screen in half. So you've got your recommended sat-nav destinations over on the top left, so I'm not at home at the moment, and it's saying, would you like to go home? Any music playing back on the left-hand side is there as well, and then my calendar is just on the bottom left. Then on the right hand side, you've got your relevant sat-nav that you're using. Now, one thing to note that as Apple CarPlay isn't standard on all models of Mercedes-Benz, if you have MBUX, you may be able to actually upgrade this remotely and download it to the car. So through Mercedes Me, you can purchase a thing called smartphone integration, and then this will download an update to the car which enables this Apple CarPlay feature. So really, really good that you can actually upgrade cars even after they've been built. Sadly, this is only for models with MBUX, so if you have Command or any previous other system, then you won't be able to do this. It's only for models with MBUX. But one of the reasons why I do mention this is because before you purchase, just factor in the crop factor on Apple CarPlay with MBUX models. So for example, if I give you a little demonstration here, if we go to the sat-nav, notice it's full screen. But then if I load up Apple CarPlay, it is kind of cropped slightly. It's almost like a 4:3 aspect ratio. So there's a bit of a gap here on the left and the right hand side. So do just bear that in mind before you purchase this. I wish it was full screen, but it is cropped. So do obviously just bear that in mind. Now, as modern technology gets even better throughout the years, so does the technology in Mercedes-Benz systems. So in pretty much every model of Mercedes-Benz at the moment, they're all wired to Apple CarPlay. But some selected models, like a new S-Class and a new C-Class, feature wireless Apple CarPlay. So these are the models that have a kind of portrait-styled screen in the middle, and you can identify these quite easily with this setup. Basically, these allow wireless Apple CarPlay, so when you connect your phone via Bluetooth, it will pop up just on the screen if you want it to. It'll ask you if you want to connect it up. Now, I don't think this is so much of a bad thing, to be honest, because charging wirelessly does take a little bit longer anyway, and as it is wireless, there is a tiny bit of lag just between the two. And when it's plugged in, it does actually charge fairly quickly as well. So, of course, if you're using Apple Music or Spotify, streaming music and using the maps at the same time, if it was wireless, you'd actually pretty much kill your battery fairly quickly. Whereas with this, your battery arrives fully charged when you get to your destination. So I think it's kind of good anyway, it being wired. Now, when you're done with Apple CarPlay, all you do is quite simply just unplug it from the USB port. So either end, just unplug it and it'll go straight back to the MBUX system. And there we go guys, that concludes this week's video on connecting Apple CarPlay in your Mercedes-Benz. Now of course this is part 1 of 3, so if you're having a few issues, check out part 2, which is my troubleshooting guide. But if you're a power user and want to know everything there is to know about Apple CarPlay, check out part 3, which is my own personal tips and tricks I use every day, but on Apple CarPlay specifically. But as always, huge shout out to Sandown Mercedes-Benz as they provided the cars in the video. So if you fancied one yourself, there's a link down below where you can get in touch with them. But guys, as always, do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you liked what you saw. But as always, we'll see you next week.